Welcome to the No Flop Zone. You're taking time out with me, Body Nodge, and of course the indestructible Joey Wright, little brother of Billy. We're talking all sorts of basketball things today. Starting off with, let's start with Mitch McCarron's retirement. He had played 270 games for Cairns, won a championship with Melbourne, played captained Adelaide, played for New Zealand. Did you have much to do with him? Because I think he's a Queenslander, isn't he?
He is a Queenslander, and he trained with us probably his senior year in high school. Dad would grab him, get him out of school, and bring him over and have him train with us. And he did some pretty phenomenal things back then. People don't realize the athlete he was.
Yes.
Like, he came through the middle as a 17-year-old and took off from a step inside the free throw line in practice and dunked it. And I was like, whoa.
I like this kid.
Yeah, I like this guy. But he was aggressive, assertive. He was always hardworking, just a really lovely guy to be around. He's going to have a great future in coaching if he decides to do that. But just a really good champion.
Yep, got to agree with you. Some moves that have happened. Gorjok Gak going back from Tasmania to Southeast Melbourne. Good move, bad move?
I think it's a great move for him and for them. They probably need a great backup big, but he'll probably get a little bit more visibility in that program and hopefully stays healthy.
Matt Kenyon to Adelaide on a one-year contract.
With Matt Kenyon going to Adelaide, gives them a blue-collar hard worker, but I think they're going to need a little more than that at a few of those positions. Well, it looks like they have 7 Australians already signed, so bringing an 8th Australian means either they're going to roll with 2 imports or they're going to have to cut somebody when somebody comes. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Okay, we've got DJ Mitchell coming back into the competition with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. I don't know how to read this kid because he had his problems with Brisbane coaching. He didn't like the way they were using him and said, that's it, I'm out. I think it was mutual, but he's got talent. He's the son of Mike. You would have played against Mike, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Played against Mike, and Mike's the reason why I'm in Australia. So,
really?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hung out with him on a tour team, that was Mike Mitchell. And he kept telling me how great Australia was. So when I came down here, it was because of him. He was one of the guys that was on that tour. But his son, during this process, and even when I was coaching at my last stint, I kept in contact with DJ when he was at Wake Forest.
Right.
And he was having some issues there. Went out to Santa Clara, finished up, did well, and hasn't been the person that we thought he would be, as just character-wise. Right. I think he's went away and grown up a little bit and is ready to come back and show he can play. His ability to play the game is not the issue. His ability to be consistently a character guy has been the issue.
Okay, Sydney Kings talking about going away and getting a 6'11" import, they've described him as, or 211 centimetres, as we go in today's language. Are there really good imports that are nearly 7 foot that aren't taken by the NBA, Europe, big money in Asia that you can get in Australia?
They would be paying some outlandish money to bring over a really, really good veteran big, all right? If they're bringing over a young big, before he's proven, a pre-draft big, yeah, possibly. You can go get out, a talented young man. I think they had one a couple of years ago that went on to play in the NBA. But they, you can find that. But finding a really, really talented 6'11" guy, you're talking a couple $1 million. U.S.
Jeez. Okay. The other big story hasn't broken yet, or might have by the time we go to air, but Finn Delany looks like he's going to become a Melbourne United player following a number of breakers over the years that have ended up playing for United. Yeah. Can you see that? And do you think he's a good fit there with Chris Goulding and Shaylee?
Great fit for him.
Yep.
I mean, he'll be a change-up guy. He, a little bit of more, or possibly what White didn't give some days, some nights. So if White's not playing well, if he does return, then Finn Delany steps in and is kind of that mix-up guy. He's going to change it up. He's going to make sure the game knows that he's on the floor, one way or the other.
But I mean, I see a similarity between him and Jack White, because one of my criticisms of Finn Delany has been that he's just not quite there because of his consistency.
Exactly.
His best is outstanding, but the contrast is quite dramatic.
But if you got 2 guys that are at their heights and they're really good, and once again, a lot of teams can't afford to do this. So this is the advantage that Melbourne has, where you can have a Jack White, and if he doesn't play well that night, then you put Flynn Delany in, and then he'll probably play well.
Yeah, but Jack's gone.
Oh, is he gone?
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
He's just trying his luck somewhere else in the world.
Well, they replaced him.
Because, he's going somewhere where they haven't seen him shoot a free throw.
They replaced him.
All right. We've got Alex Toohey, Lockie Olbrich, Ben Henshall, all doing quite well at the NBA draft combined. Does that surprise you, or you think that that's what you expected?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, they played some professional basketball. They've been through a lot of things that these guys haven't been through. So, they understand the speed, they understand the professionalism behind it. I think it's a great opportunity for them to go in and show what they can do, and maybe they get a look. I mean, I think Ben Henshall, you get his defense right, he could find himself in the NBA in a couple of years.
All right, and we've got the announcement that we have the Pavlos Giannakopoulos tournament in Sydney in Melbourne and Sydney in September. That's bringing Partizan and Panathinaikos to Australia to play. I think it's the Kings and the 36ers. Is this? I find this an interesting step, an interesting direction to go when we've been so about NBA and playing games against NBA teams, and then there was a period where we were trying to get into China, and I think this is actually a more interesting direction ahead.
I think it's extremely interesting, but it's also extremely questionable. Like, you get shown up by the second tier or the tier that you say that you're better than. Like, you've been saying you're better than these teams. You get shown up by them, it can be very dangerous for your marketing. So, we'll see how it goes, but hopefully it's not embarrassing for either side because they're traveling a long way and coming over here. So hopefully it's not embarrassing for either side. It's just a really good basketball game.
I think Sydney Kings might be a good match, but a bit concerned about how the 36ers might look in this series.
Well, you don't know either at that particular time, and the 36ers could be very well off if they do they do good in bringing in three solid imports.
Yes,
they're right in the mix. They got some great role players, some guys that can shoot the ball. You bring in three solid imports that can carry games and role players, and you're good.
Okay, let's talk about what should we call it, the elephant in the room of the NBL currently, which is not getting as much publicity as it should be getting.
Yes.
Which is the fact that the owners, some of the owners are now questioning Larry really seriously. So I remember when we first talked about Jared Novelly, the Illawarra Hawks owner, saying that he was challenging what Larry was doing. And we had the conversation. I said that the thing that disturbed me at that time was not a lot of other owners had come out in support. That's changed. Okay, the Southeast Melbourne have come out in strong support. Previous ownerships of Brisbane and New Zealand are also now questioning the transparency with which Larry operates. It went to the Supreme Court last week. It's going back to the Supreme Court on July the 18th. Novelly, as you know, is serious because he took the issue to FIBA, hoping that FIBA, the international body, might act. FIBA did what it normally does, handballed it to Basketball Australia, and Basketball Australia's integrity unit, I don't know, someone's going to bang on the door, see if they're all awake in there, because very little will have
They might be in there talking to Larry.
Yeah, or listening. So where do you see this going? I know you followed it.
Yeah, I have followed it because it's something that, obviously has affected me and my plight through coaching in the NBL. I always felt like the transparency wasn't there. I felt like some of the rules and stuff overlapped, and it was some nighttime moves and done, and against the rules that were given us at the beginning of the year. I'm all for leagues advancing and doing what they have to do marketing wise to publicly, But once the season starts, we can't have rule changes, and everyone has to play by the same, playground. We got to play on the same playground, but. It just got at one point just too uneven for us, for me to feel like I'm out there doing, in a fair competition. So it was just better for me to get out, and I just don't want any part of it anymore. But I'm glad someone is addressing it and someone's taking a look at what's going on. And at the end of the day, just transparency. Why wouldn't anyone want to give transparency? And why would anyone not want transparency? All we want to do is see what's going on. So. Yeah. Nothing's going on, it's not a problem.
I think the challenge is to the fact that there have been things like, when the apparel, the clothing and everything for the league was given to Larry's son's company. You sort of go, well, it was,
Less Star, Next Star.
There's been a couple of sort of situations that the travel arrangements where Larry owned 25% of a company that was doing all the travel for the NBL. So these sorts of things, and I think the media today is frightened or to come out and really push this story through, because what I'm seeing is there's a lot of people in the media who have been made by the NBL. You know, they're appearing on television, and they think, you know, they're not going to really challenge the ownership. And then there are the other people who sort of have this great respect for Larry, as do we, for what he's done for the league.
Yeah, I want to say that and make that
Absolutely.
clear. I respect what Larry's done for the league, and I don't like the way he's done it, but I like his outcome. The league is more visible. We got better players here. It's funner to watch. I mean, I'll say it 100 times. I like watching it more than the NBA game.
Yeah.
So, you know, we respect Larry and what he's done, but the way he's done it, I don't necessarily respect.
And that doesn't necessarily give you you're never going to be challenged or give you a clean slate to just keep going and do whatever the hell you want. You still have to have. Now, the interesting story I saw, I can't remember who wrote it, but it was that, you know, if this continues, you know, the NBL, you know, could fall over. We may not even have a league. I'm thinking, what a load of bullshit.
Well, we got someone who's interested and care enough about the league to challenge it, who has 6 times the money that Larry has. So,
but not only that, I mean, even now they're getting involved in the WNBL. They're talking about record crowds and all these sorts of things, positives. But somebody challenging for transparency could destroy the league. I mean, that stuff is nonsense. And when it keeps being perpetuated by the media, it drives me crazy.
Well, we all know how it works. If you advertise and you spend advertising dollars at media outlets, then those media outlets tend to not, you know, tell the truth that's any different than your truth. And you see that a lot, not just here in this, but you see it in America all the time. You see it all over the world. It's all about advertising dollars. So if I'm spending $25,000 a weekend promoting basketball in your media outlets, and you know I want a certain story to go a certain way, it tends to go that way.
Well, July the 18th is when they're back in the Supreme Court, and it'll be a very interesting day, I think, for the NBL and its future.
Yeah, I think it will be. Let's wait and see.
Okay, let's move on to some viewer topics. The Fake Maker says, another good one, fellas, which is very kind. Do you think the NBL will ever introduce player trades? I'm thinking in season. Or will the NBA eventually abolish them?
I don't think the NBA will abolish them at all whatsoever. It's too much of a marketing talking point. Like that's all this trade stuff is to get people to talk about basketball for another couple months, which is reason why the NBL should do it as well. Yeah. It's some outstanding, you know, situations last year. Ben Ayers sitting on the bench at Southeast Phoenix.
Yep.
I mean, there's some teams that could have used a pretty good handy point guard last year that had injuries that went into the season. So a nice mid-season trade in that scenario. I said it before. I think they should do it, and this is the structure I would do it under. Over $100,000, you can be traded with no warning, all right, and no relocation package. Anybody makes under $100,000, they get an X number dollar relocation package, and they need to at least have 4 weeks warning. Okay,
interesting. Ballaholic says, well, I'd love to coach the Cairns Taipans. That's a private joke we had last time with him. I think there are more qualified candidates. Yes, we agree. Joey, for the point guard you can't name, the one that had to handle the ball a lot, are we allowed to say it's Jason Crow from your time with the Blaze?
No, Crow was before me. So when I got to the Blaze, I had Ayinde Ibaka and Idris De Leon were my point guards there. But Jason Crow was a year before I got to them. So no.
Can you help me understand the poor use of bugs, is what he said in our league. It's a misprint. I'm pretty sure he means bigs. So I think we're using bugs quite well. I watch players, I've got to agree with everything he says here. I watch players such as Isaac Humphries and Terrell Harrison start the game with their team looking for them. They have 4 or 5 field goals in the first 4 minutes, a couple of rebounds, are therefore really involved defensively. Then the team decides to go away from them until 90 seconds left in the game, then expect them to dominate when they're cold and not in rhythm. Why do teams do this?
Well, I think I don't think the point guards are as astute as they used to be. Right. And the emphasis is not to get the ball to the big. I was brought up as a point guard. That, you know, I always was taught, look for the big. I mean, I rebound the basketball and I'm pushing up the court and I'm looking at the bigs running and sealing automatically. That was automatic first look. if we if we kicked it to somebody on a wing for a 3-point shot in transition, we all coming out. I was coming out, he was coming out, and the big was probably coming out. So that wasn't happening, and I think as the game goes on, point guards lose focus on it. But teams do make adjustments as well. If somebody's playing well, people always say, oh, they were hot, why'd they stop going to them? Well, teams make adjustments. Like we see someone hot, we do stuff to stop them from being hot. And it works most of the time.
Yeah.
Now someone else has got to pick up the slack.
Yeah. But I have seen this too, though. I have seen, particularly say with Isaac, they go to him at the start, especially when Scott Dennis took over. He made Isaac a real focus, and they stayed with him. They didn't just go with him early; they would go back to him during it. Whereas this season past, they might have gone to him for the first few minutes, and then either the opposition made an adjustment or they just didn't.
Yeah, and I think that goes, Scott being an old school coach that understands it's important to score from inside out, and I think he revived Isaac's career for a little bit. Scott did, because he played way better under him. Probably the best I've ever seen him play for anybody. Just
spinning off from that, there's another thing that tends to happen, is that if you pick up 2 early fouls, that's it for you. You're done for the quarter, and sometimes even for the half, depending on how cautious a coach is with you. Again, why is that? Because I'm sure when you played and you got 2 fouls, you just thought, okay, I'll be a little bit more restrained for the next few minutes. You didn't rush out and get your third.
I didn't, but most of the coaches that I played for, if I had 2 in the first half, you were sitting out. If I didn't have the talent, or if our team didn't have the talent, so my collegiate team, we had enough talent for me to sit down when I picked up a couple fouls. I don't think teams always have that talent, and anybody know that played for me, if you got 2 in the first half, you were out. We couldn't risk DJ or any of our stud players picking up a 3rd foul in the first half and trying to play defense for 2 quarters with 3 fouls. What typically happens is that player's not going to play defense.
Yeah,
they're going to make sure they stay in the game, and that's not the end goal. The end goal is to play defense first, regardless of what your foul situation is. So if I had the talent that I could bring someone in because a player has 2 fouls, then you roll with it. If you don't have the talent, you have no choice. You have to play.
Yeah. And there are guys who you just know are anxious. Matt Hodgson used to get 2 fouls like that when he was playing for the 36ers. Yeah, if you didn't get him out in time, the third one was coming.
Yeah, you get 3 before you go out. So certain guys, it's also certain guys that can still maintain wit too. But if I didn't have to risk it, I wouldn't.
Okay. Joey, can you describe what the impact is like on your family when you're a pro basketball coach?
I think they have it the worst. I think it's a huge impact on them from, the standpoint of your mind still racing a lot. So even if you're present, you're not always present. So they don't always get all of you. I think that a loss, which they have no control over, they still feel the pain. Whereas if at least I lose, I could say, you know what, I should have done a better job. Should have done this, done that. You can put that on yourself. I think it's really, really, really tough on families to deal with. And here in Adelaide, and I'm just going to be honest about this, here in Adelaide, my family received a lot of hate and undue arrest because of whatever we were doing and not doing. In saying this now, over the 8 years I coached here, we won as many games as any other teams in the league. Like our win percentage was pretty high. Only one was higher was Perth over the 8 years.
Yes.
And my family had to walk around town and duck insults as a result of that. So it's really tough on the families.
Oh, I'm disappointed to hear that. I really am.
Yeah, Queensland we didn't. In Queensland, Gold Coast, they partied. They didn't care if we won or lost. I'm the only one who was mad. Brisbane's a little bit more educated about it, but still we never faced that stuff. But the kids were young in Brisbane as well, and young in Gold Coast.
Aaron Gagol says, every second week you'll be able to go fishing now because we're not. I said, well, I think Joey goes fishing at every opportunity. Do you know what's happening with the WNBL? We were close to losing the Lightning. Players and coaches got released from contracts. Does anyone have a better understanding of the new ownership and how it will work? Has it all been rushed with what they are doing? It hasn't been rushed because the new management, which involves Larry in the NBL and the Denholm lady from the Sydney Kings, who's involved in Tesla, and there's probably a billionaire that have come in to take over. That's been pending for a while, and it started in April. Initially, there were problems because they wanted control of all the IP. I guess if you're a club that's established you own your own logo and your own name and whatever. So there were some issues that needed to be sorted out, and for a while it did look like the WNBL was going to be in strife, but wiser heads prevailed. And now in South Australia, as you know, the Premier Peter Malinauskas came out and saved the Lightning. So they're up and running. There's strong rumours that people like Cheryl Chambers, Karen Mitchell, Cherie Hogg have all interviewed for the Lightning coaching job. So they're going to come up with a good candidate. It intrigues me.
Would be great.
Cherie?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think they'll go that way though.
Really?
Yeah, because
with her vast experience in college basketball
and being from here.
Yeah. Perfect candidate.
I think so too.
I don't know the other ones, but I know, just her, she'd be perfect.
It's funny because there's a sort of desire to have a female coach for the Lightning, where in the Lightning's 32-year history, 18 of those years they've been coached by females. So they've had more women coaches than men. I think you have to pick a coach on merit anywhere, and if that's the woman, that's the woman. If that's a man, that's a man.
Yeah, so be it. Yeah.
But at this stage, the only names I'm hearing are female, but they're good ones. So I think things are going to work out for you, Aaron. I don't think you should worry too much about that. Abraham Shukin. You know this man?
Yeah, that's my floor guy. He cleans my floors.
Is he the one that loves ZZ Top?
I don't know if he looks like ZZ Top.
He says, Trans-Tasman Joey, give some love to the Aussie Hoopers. Okay. Trevor Castle said, he's from Wales. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts about the level of bad sportsmanship encouraged by all teams in support of the home teams. This has become such a factor in all sports as national competitions have been formed. No longer do supporters show any support or recognition or even respect for superstars on visiting teams. We boo and hiss and throw abuse, we mock and intimidate, and then we expect that when our kids play in local sport, they'll be fair-minded and gracious in defeat or humble in victory.
I think, and I said this before, sport is just a microcosm of society.
Yep.
It's just a reflection of what happens in society. As our society has become more and more negative, it comes out in sport. So our fans are more and more negative. If we can reverse what's happening in society, I think it'll reverse what's happening in sport as well. But I was disappointed when I went to the Wollongong Championship game and they booed Melbourne United.
Yeah, I was too.
Like, come on.
I was too.
Like, come on. Like, these guys, they put their heart out there. They created this amazing game series for you guys where you could get excited, have something to do, and you booed them. Like, that's so disappointing.
Show them the respect because you're thrilled because you beat them.
Yes.
So they deserve your respect.
Yes, you should respect them. You beat them with your team. Like, we got to do better.
That was after the game.
Yeah.
During the game, you get booze, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But when Chris Golding comes up and they're booing him, that's bullshit. You don't do that.
Yeah.
See, in the early days, before we had national leagues, in the state league competitions didn't play in suburban venues. Often, like in Melbourne, they played at Albert Park. In Adelaide, they played at Forrestal Stadium and Apollo, and you'd have 4 games, right, on the night. So you'd go and, you got used to cheering for your own team, but if the other guy, someone throws down a dunk or something on the opposition, you would
you give them a general clap, the acknowledgement clap.
But you didn't sort of get down on them. But that's really changed with the national aspect of it's us against everybody else in the country.
Look, I always, as a player and even as a coach, I always had the mentality during the competition of if you want to do whatever, boo, hiss, whatever, cool. Like, I never heard it, to be honest with you. Wollongong.
Hang on, are you being honest with me there?
Well, the boos and when I was a player, I never heard anything.
Right.
Like, as a player, I never heard anything.
As a coach?
As a coach, I never heard that music.
you didn't hear the music?
Didn't hear music.
It drive me crazy.
I would look back at the game and see it and go, I can't believe they're playing this music that's loud. Like, I'd have to turn the TV down. But during the game, I never remembered it at all. It was some comments at Perth and Wollongong that I remember that was actually funny. They had some pretty good funny ones and some pretty insulting ones as well. But I never acknowledged anyone in the crowd. I wouldn't definitely give them any acknowledgement. If I heard something that I thought was outlandish or whatever, I wouldn't even look at them because that just but I do think we got to do a better job as a society of treating our sportsmen. They don't have to be heroes, but we have to respect that they get out there and they're working hard for us to entertain us.
Okay, we've got another one, and I'd love to hear from Joey and or other elite coaches about the common practice of getting 9 or 10 players on court per quarter.
It's tough. It's tough. You want to, in an NBL competition, you're probably going to run with an 8-man rotation if you can. If 2 of those 8 are just tanking it, you might take a look and see. You might have saw something in a young guy, at practice, and that's the things why you can never judge coaches and what the substitutions they make. But you see something in a guy's eye or whatever, and you throw him in there, and he does really well. You might give him a look, but just as a general rotation, like this year, I think we both thought, and I'm of the fact that give everyone a chance, but I know it was a huge
12 guys on the court in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff is very silly. Let's jump to the NBA now. We're down to the conference finals. We've got the Pacers and the Knicks in the East, which a lot of us, I don't know how you feel about it. I'm really happy.
I couldn't wait.
I'm really happy about that.
We couldn't wait. I mean, I think me and my brother were talking about it, this generation that now us to be able to go back and watch the Knicks Indiana series, and it's going to be a good one. It's Indiana is going to be good, Knicks will be good. It'll be a good series to watch. So.
There's some great history there.
Great history, and it'll all come out. Trust me, they'll all be around at those games. Reggie and them will be there, and Spike is still around. So it'll be fun.
And over in the West, the Wolves and OKC. That's the Timberwolves. That's going to be pretty good too.
Yeah, that's when you got some of the best young talent in the league playing in that series. So it'll be some.
So we still got 3 guys going. We've got Furphy with Indiana, Dukas with Oklahoma, and of course Joe Ingles with Minnesota. So one of those 2 will get to the championship.
One of them might get another ring, huh?
Wouldn't that be lovely? Yeah.
That'd be great. Great if Joe get one.
We'll be right back.
I spent my career coaching at the highest level and built Shoot HQ Adelaide to bring that experience to the next generation. This is where real development happens, real structure, and real results. Come see it for yourself and start building your game the right way.
We're back and we're talking Bogues, and I don't mean Muggsy Bogues. We're talking about Andrew Bogut, who just got inducted into the FIBA Hall of Fame, the 9th Australian to be inducted. Our first ever #1 draft pick in 2005, an NBA champion 2015 and 2025. It does things 10 years apart. And although in 2003 he was fantastic with the Australian team that won the gold medal at the Under-19 World Championship. I think he had 26 and 17 for that tournament. He's a pretty amazing guy. So what's your take on Andrew? You've watched his career.
I loved his college career. I didn't know a lot about Andrew at that particular time when he started playing in college. So just to watch him bring up a mid-level college to a high-level standard and compete as he did was absolutely awesome. And then just to see him in the NBA and what he's done was incredible. I know coaching against him, we had no answer.
Yeah.
He was pretty dominant every time we played against him. Thought we had him out of the game one game. They reversed the call and put him back in. I don't know how that happens. But it's just always been, what I like about him is his authenticity. He's going to say what he needs to say, whether you like it or not. That's who I am. We don't agree on a lot of things, but it doesn't matter. We're not friends. It doesn't necessarily matter. But I just think he's a hell of a guy and, smart basketball player. And when you get someone over 7 foot with intelligence, I'm joking. Not that he doesn't have intelligence, but the other 7-footers don't. I always like to tease them.
Wow.
The big fellas. Point guards, you got to tease the big fellas.
Okay.
Got to make them feel a certain way.
I don't know how much I want to tease Luke Longley or Andrew Bogut.
Got to be faster than them.
Yeah.
Got to be faster. But I think shout out to Bogues. And hey, he's got a nephew coming up.
Is he?
Oh my God. Well, he worked out in Shoot HQ one day. And I think he's 11, 12-year-old, dropped 65 in the game already. Shoots that thing from deep, long arms. Gonna be a special player. So shout out to Bogut, but also Bogut's nephew.
Cheers, Andrew. And for the rest of you, subscribe and leave your comments. Cheers.